everybody, Erica Serwin here from Pink Buckaroo Designs, and I have a really fun card to show you today. I'm so excited about this little card. I am feeling fallish, the weather's changing a little bit here, and I just really wanted to make some fall leaves. So I'm going to show you how to make this. This is not a simple card, and it's going to take you some time, but I think the reward at the end will be worth it. All right, the first thing I want to point out is that these leaves, I almost didn't even realize we had these until I saw them used on somebody else's card. This little framelit is included in the square pillow box die collection, the framelit collection. So when you buy the square pillow box framelit, this is one that you get. You also get some that have, I believe they have hearts. Nope, let's see, I was wrong. They have Christmas trees and pumpkins. Those are so cute, right? Oh my goodness, I'm going to use those a lot. Those would be great in shaker cards. I almost overlooked them because I love the square pillow box die so much and I use it a ton. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing you're going to need is some watercolor paper. And this piece of watercolor paper is just a scrap. I believe you're going to need about 50 leaves, so just kind of eyeball it. We're going to watercolor four different colors. We're going to start with crushed curry. Now, I prefer to use an aqua painter. An aqua painter is like a paintbrush. It has a paintbrush tip, and you fill it with water. So we're going to use an aqua painter and some crushed curry. And the way I do this is I squeeze my stamp pads to get some ink right there on the lid. And then I get a little bit of water. I squeeze my aqua painter a little bit and squeeze some of that water in there. And then I'm just going to fill in about 1/4 of this paper. Now, for it to achieve the look that I want, we need varying degrees of darkness. I want some of the yellow light, I want some of it dark, because our leaves that fall off the tree are not all one color. Some are a little bit, I don't know, crispier than others. You're probably not supposed to do this, but I do sometimes take color straight from the pad. Now, you probably don't want to do that too much because it is adding a little bit of water to that pad, but sometimes just to get a little bit more darkness, I'll get an intense lift off of that pad with my aqua painter. Now, I'm not squeezing the water out anymore. I got plenty of water over here. All right, so now we're going to move on to pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie is my favorite orange. It is just a classic, good orange. Now I'm going to kind of wipe this off up here. I want to get most of that yellow off just because I don't want to contaminate my orange. But on here, we're going to let them blend together. So I'm going to squeeze in some water, and I'm going to start up here. And I'm going to kind of go over that yellow a little bit because I do want to have some blending. Sometimes you see several colors on a leaf, and that's the look that we're wanting to go for. We want our leaves to look very realistic. Now, if you do not want to get water in your lid of your stamp pad, a great tip that I have seen others do is to take a clear block and just stamp it down onto the ink pad and use that like this surface. You would then squeeze out the water on the block and use it like that, and then you could just wipe it clean. All right, I am squeezing just a tiny bit more water because as I move into the drier paper, I need to add just a little bit more. All right, so what color do you guys think we should use next? What would you use in your fall lineup? Well, I chose real red. We're going with just basic colors today, basic primary colors. All right, now this is beautiful. I love real red, and as it blends into that orange, for some reason these blend better than the other two colors. I really, really like how this, whoops, I did some splatter, but that's okay because what I actually did on my original is I took my paintbrush at the end and kind of tapped off some of the espresso to give some of those dots, those brown dots that we see on the leaves. All right, so get some darker in here, get some of that ink on the lid that's not too watery. All right, so now last we're going to use not espresso, I'm sorry, soft suede. I tried espresso and I didn't like the way it looked after I colored with it. So make sure you clean off your aqua painter, because red especially is a potent color and we don't want to get too much red in there. You could even switch aqua painters if you wanted to. All right, now I don't recommend you blending this suede with the red. I tried it and I didn't like it, and I felt like where they met was kind of wasted color, and I really couldn't use those when I die cut them. All right, so then the thing I was talking about, you can just take this and kind of hit it on your finger. Let's see, we need a little bit more water in there. You can just kind of hit it like that on the end of your finger, just to give a little bit of speckle so that those leaves aren't too perfect. Now you're going to need to dry this, and you can let it dry, or you can hit it with your heat tool and it'll dry really quickly. And I am prepared, and I have one already done. So now we're going to use our Big Shot and that cute little leaf framelit, or thinlet. I guess it's a thinlet if it's not framing a stamp. We're going to just start cutting. All right, so I'm going to put that on my clear plates and run it through. And this is going to be tedious, but it'll be worth it. And I started making little piles. So I'll make a pile of yellow, and when I get down to orange, I'll make a pile of orange. Now, for the sake of the video, I'm going to speed it up or edit a little bit here so that you don't have to watch me cut out all 50 or 60 of these leaves. All right, so now here is my piece all done. You can see how many leaves I did, and I started really just kind of throwing these around, so I'm going to turn them all over. All right, so I like to kind of put them all in little groups so I can see what I'm working with, see what I have left as I'm going. Now let's get our card base ready. This is a pumpkin pie card base that was 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and I scored it in half. And the Whisper White is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Now I used glue dots for this, and I mean, you can figure out how many glue dots that is if you have 50 leaves, but I want you to know that I used glue dots because I prefer a dry adhesive to a wet adhesive. I'm very messy, and I can never get very good control over this. But if you are comfortable with your wet adhesive, either one of these would work just fine, and I think the fine tip glue pen would probably be the best choice, because you can then put a little dot on each of your leaves. Now what I decided is just to start from the bottom, and I kind of put a couple the width of my leaf pile that I wanted to have. And then I started building up. And I like to vary the leaf colors as I go. And these that are really cool, I saved those for the front or the top of the pile so you could really see them. And you want to turn them different angles. You don't want them all to be pointing the same way, because a leaf pile is not going to be like that for sure. And then you're just going to start layering these as if they were in a big giant pile of leaves. Luckily here in South Texas we don't have leaf piles. I understand that would not be fun to have to rake them, but I do wish we had some fall color. We don't have very much fall color here. So this is kind of my imaginary, I get to play with imaginary leaves and pretend like I know what it's like to have fall foliage. Once you get your leaf pile the size that you want it, I recommend that you take some of your leaves that are left and go back and cover up. There's lots of little white spots, and I don't want those white spots showing through because I want this to appear like a big pile of leaves and not just a little scattering of, like I glued some little leaves on there. So anywhere that you see a white spot, go back and add a few more. And then take a couple, let's see, pick the ones that are really pretty and put one like falling down like that. And then I also put one kind of over here like it's blowing away from the pile. All right, so there we have it. My hand's a little cramped up, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so now there's one more thing you need to do with your aqua painter. If you see, this is just floating around in a white background. It's not setting on any kind of line. There's nothing anchoring it. So we're gonna take some of this soft suede, and I want it pretty light, so I'm gonna add a bunch of water to it, and I'm just gonna kind of go under it like a shadow, and this is gonna kind of create the ground below it. Just a little, you don't need a whole lot, and you can go back with just a little bit darker right under the pile, and that creates some shadow, and it's not just a leaf pile floating around in a white space. Okay, now we're ready for the cute little sign. I used this framelit to cut out this cute little sign, and I want the sign to stick in there, but as you can see, because I've already glued those down, I'm going to cut that off a little bit at an angle and just kind of fit it in there. As soon as I see I have it like I want it, I'm going to put a little bit of fast fuse. All right, little sign, let's see, and put it just like that. And then we're going to use this sentiment that says Hello Autumn from the Cheer All Year stamp set. And I started with, let me look at my colors to make sure what I had. Okay, I started with yellow over here, whoops, wrong end, with my Stampin' Write markers. I'm gonna do some Daffodil Delight, actually Crushed Curry, I'm sorry, Crushed Curry on a few letters. And then I'm gonna take my Pumpkin Pie, and over, I went a little bit over that last letter that I used with the Hello Crushed Curry. And then I'm going to do the same thing with red, just a little bit over so they kind of blend together. And I got a 3/4 inch wide strip of Whisper White. If you blow some hot air on your stamp, it'll kind of waken up those inks if they have started to dry. And then I'm going to, it doesn't matter how long it is because you're going to put it in here in our triple banner punch. And I always look to the back because I can see if I punch there, I'm going to punch off part of that H. So I'm going to put it in here, try to get it as centered as possible. Punch. And then do the other one. Punch. And there's our little sentiment. And let's get a dimensional. Stick that on there. Just like that. And of course, it needs a linen thread bow. Doesn't this just scream outdoorsy or fall? I don't know, it's like burlap or something. It's beautiful. All right, let's trim that and get our glue dots and stick that right under there, and there you have it. Now this card is quite a bit of work, so I recommend you send this to somebody who really is special, who deserves it. I think this would be fun on a scrapbook page too, a little square of that for a fall scrapbook page. All right guys, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Bye-bye.